I just came back to Zoom to see the Brady Bunch all waving to each other. That was nice. Well done, well done. Um, little trap, little trap for young players. We normally don't have close the area on this one, and I had it closed, and I thought I reckon there would have been a few more people waiting for this one. So then I went and checked, and sure enough, the area was closed. So, of course, we talk all about preparation and being being ready, and sitting down in front of the computer 1 minute before the meeting starts is not classed as preparation. So inevitably, that's the thing. Isn't it funny when you already leave your home late that you you blame the traffic? The traffic was so bad. The traffic was bad, or you just left late. It was like the traffic was normal. There was a completely reasonable amount of traffic. It's just I didn't have enough time to get here. Very good. Um, we've already got a few questions in there. I am going to need my mute button regularly to have my little coughs. People who have been around for a while know that I get these lingering coughs that happen for some time. Um, so the key is that no one makes me laugh. That's probably not the biggest problem, though. It's actually me making myself laugh because I will enjoy my own jokes, and that will get me going. So I have to watch about that. So remembering that you can place your questions, post them on the dashboard, ask a question. And the cool thing is we've had a few people that have done that. Also, people that have done it days ago, which is really cool. Maddie, I think you did it a few days ago, or maybe I have to check that because it might be that it was last week and that I don't know if Blue got to it or not. So, Maddie, the question about the favicons, did Blue get to that? He did. He didn't. All right. So we can talk about that. Excellent. Very good. So yes, post your questions on the dashboard there. Ask a question, and we'll see where today takes us. I I am feeling better, thank you. It was pretty nasty. America gave me a bug, and I shared it with Down Under. Hopefully not actually. It's funny because I think there's more of these sorts of things happening now. It's probably we don't want another pandemic. That's not what I'm saying, but I think there is a bit more going around, and it's interesting when I'm involved in a handful of in-person events that I do with a large client, and it'll be really interesting. We've got a big event with 3,000 people next week after. I'm going to be really interested to see how many people can't make it, and then the way that how many of the speakers, there's lots of speakers, how many of them won't be able to make it, but will still be happy to do it remotely. And so it's those sorts of things that I find fascinating, and that I think it only pushes us more to doing virtual and online events. So, which I'm a big fan of. We've been talking quite a lot when I was in Vegas, and I caught up with a bunch of people from the office hours community, which is how Blue and I met 5 years ago. A bunch of event and media creators and producers and tech guys and gals and a bunch of different people, and we were talking about conferences in general. And I've just got this real thing about the fact that we continue to do conferences the same way that we have for 60, 70 years or whatever it is. People all come together and do they you know, you and look, back then you had to have you had to be in that ballroom or that event space to hear the content from the world leaders, right? Whereas that's not the case anymore. The content is online, it's available to everyone, you know, or the vast majority. And uh, and so the idea of getting people together to just consume content is such a waste of time. And so I keep thinking about, like, ideally, I think pushing the content, time shifting the content, having people consume that content in their own time, in their own speed, and being able to go back over it and things like that, and then come together for questions and panel discussions and case studies and, you know, things like that are really highly interactive. There's something to that. And so doing events online where it just makes so much sense. And I think the same again, that the content, spending lots and lots of time pushing out content, I think is, even online, can also be a bit of a waste of time when you're bringing a community get together. Anyway, look at that. I got on a soapbox without any question. That's a problem. I'm gonna get to the questions that you actually asked. Before we do that, it's travel 48 weeks. Yeah, you're right. So much better than fire. Absolutely, it's better for the environment. Yep, totally it is. And look, I think there is something about being in the same room as people. I won't argue that. Often what I say is that an online connection is like a 3-string guitar. It's music, and with the right under the right hands, it's beautiful music on a 3-string guitar. But there is something about being in person with people that is like a 6-string guitar. There's just some extra elements to it. And so, but as long as we make the most of those, do you know what? I think you'll find this really interesting, as I did. When I was in Vegas, I got to meet a bunch of people in person that I'd never met in person. So I've got to know people, you know, for a long time online. Lots in Zoom, you know, lots, like multiple days of the week, I'd be talking to some of these people in Zoom. And then there's some people that have only seen me through YouTube, through a live stream, are connected to the office hours community, and they just watched YouTube videos. And I knew of them, and there was text messages back and forth and that sort of thing. What was amazing is, without exception, when I met someone who I had only interacted with via text and they had seen me on video, it was a warm handshake and so great to meet you. When I met people that I'd been in Zoom with for the last 5 years, it was a massive hug. It was like bear hugs. And so what does that say? For me, it says that what we're doing here is not just a fancy letter or a fancy phone call. There is something more that we're doing when we connect like this, because the connection that's made, we then, when we are in person, we pick up from where we left off, which appropriately, often, lots of these people, would be a hug. Our relationship is close enough that it's a warm embrace. I find that really interesting. It fit, but it it was really cool. So all of that to say that what we can do online really is pretty powerful, and we can do it even without being in person. So I'm interested in how we do a whole bunch of online, and then for some people that just really want to still be able to do things in person, it's like, well, how would you construct that time to maximize the benefit of the in-person interaction? And how do we do all of this online at the same time? Because we know all the benefits of this as well. It's not just the fact that there's so many reasons why people can't get to a particular place geographically, financially, environmentally, all of those reasons why we can't get to one place together. The thing that we continue to see 5 years on is all these massive benefits and the connections that we have when we do this together. So now I'm totally preaching to the choir, because you're like, that's why I'm here. I want to hear more about Obvio because I want to do online events. So stop preaching and answer questions, Grant. That would be great. All right. That's what I'm going to do. It's when I feel like I've got a radio show when I do this. All right, let's get to some songs. Maddie said, would you tell us how we can upload? He said from Favicon. I'm assuming it was a Favicon. So Favicon is the little bookmark or icon. Let me just share. I did just say that here we go. There we go. All right. So this is the event that we're in right now, that we're all in event right now. And you've got this Favicon upload. So what it is in this one is up here on the tab, you can see that little icon. Now, it generally is about, there's some different ratios, but 16 by 16 pixels. It's very small. You can upload a PNG file because it does. You can see in there that it actually responds to transparency. So there's in the middle of that icon, it is transparent, and the outside, because it is a square. And so when you upload that, then whenever people are looking at your dashboard, then they'll see that in their tabs, they see it in their bookmarks and things like that. So that's what that is for. So a very small image that's going to work, so not very detailed at all, and that you can see some other ones there. You look at other logos of things and you'll see. Does that answer that, Maddie? Was that what you're asking about? I don't know if you. Yes. Did you? Sorry, I missed you. If you gave me a thumbs up or something, it is all right.
Thanks, yeah. Grant. Yeah, that
okay,
answers it. Thank you. But I sent you another question.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Next question. Enric, is he here? Because I wanted to ask a question. You are. Hello, sir. Waiting for host to start meeting. This is interesting. Tell me more.
I'm getting a lot of that lately. Coming through the Obvio Zoom areas button, which I use, 8-10 times a day. And even from my own machines on my own network, I'm getting the kind of Zoom image that pops up waiting for host to start the meeting. And it's so weird, even though I've started the meeting already from computer number one, I then go over to my backstage computer and try and get in, and it keeps saying, I've seen it about 10 times in the last week. And I was just wondering if you guys have seen it at all.
So you start the meeting from the rooms area on your first machine.
Yep.
Are you doing the same thing on the next machine?
Yep.
As
Same
in
thing
you're
on the next
trying to-
machine. And it's kind of a new thing, because I've always operated like that. For every event I do, I tend to switch on 3 or 4 of my machines, for backup and all that kind of stuff, and join as co-host, because I move around. So it's not like I'm a newbie. But if you haven't seen it, then yeah,
I haven't
that's
seen
a
it.
good question.
The thing that's a little bit odd about that is that if Obvio launches when you launch it, it launches, and the first person to start the meeting becomes the host. The subsequent people subsequent clicks on different computers are using the same start
Yep.
link, and so it's only if it was trying to join as an attendee that it would be saying waiting for host to start, because even if it thought that the meeting hadn't started yet, it would just start it because it's a co-host or an alternate host.
I dropped a screenshot into the chat, so you can see it.
Yeah.
So I think this is a Zoom thing. This is not an Obvio thing, because the room is open. I know that it's open because I see it on my main studios here, right? And then I go to another machine, and it just spins me that nonsense.
Yeah, and you're definitely not trying to join as an attendee.
No,
It's
from
just as
the Obvio,
another host.
yeah, from the Obvio dashboard. Yeah.
The
That's
only
all right.
way that I
let it go, unless
Yeah,
you
no.
unless you find other people who are hitting that too.
Yeah. The only thing it makes me think is that it's losing the link is not fully there or something. Yeah, I haven't experienced it at all. Justin, have you got any ideas?
Not a one. I haven't experienced it either.
Hmm.
I'll bring
Yeah,
it up to the team, and maybe they have some ideas.
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not at a point where it's getting in the way of business, because
It eventually starts.
I did a hard refresh. I refreshed the browser, same thing. It's not at a point where I'm complaining. I just thought I'd ask the question.
No worries. Yeah, and you're saying that it'll sit there for a bit, and then it will start, and you will be the co-host.
No, it won't start.
Okay.
I have to refresh it. I have to refresh it. I have to refresh it, and then eventually it comes. So that screenshot that I put in there, that was about 5 or 6 refreshes until it did it.
That's really weird. Yeah, I'm not sure. Keep playing around. Yeah, we haven't. No one has brought that up. I mean, I already knew, Enrique, that you are unique, but you are really unique in this example. See how you go. There must be something that's slightly whacked about it. Try different computers and things like that as well, and that sort of stuff.
Yep, I tried it on different machines.
Which you have, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll keep a note of it. Thank you. Sorry, it's happening. Yeah. Let's see what happens. Okay. I'm just looking ahead at another. I'm going to come back to your question, your other question, Enrique, because I'm just checking on something. That's if you only had one more. Yeah, I think you do. Yeah, let me come back to that one. Melanie, how do we put a link to an unlisted video on YouTube in an Obvio blog? So only see the video, and after watching that video, YouTube does not flow to other videos on YouTube. Yeah. So two separate things. There's no problems to embed an unlisted video. And so you just set it to unlisted in YouTube, and then post it in the same way that you would onto a blog post, and now you're fine. The second part is that at the end of the video, YouTube will, there used to be a point where you could stop it from showing related videos afterwards. And there's that seems to keep changing, but essentially they want people to continue watching videos afterwards, and so there's always some sort of call to action. And of course, people can always click the YouTube logo as well, and that's going to take it to them off to YouTube, off to an unlisted video. Unlisted just means that you can't search for it, but of course it's still accessible. So if that's really important to you that you don't have that, then it's money, right? And it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money. I think that I use Vimeo for lots and lots of different use cases and different events. Mostly for that reason. I can control exactly how the player looks. It won't go off and have related videos afterwards. It doesn't pull people off to Vimeo. It works as like a completely your event type video hosting service. And so, yeah, there's Vimeo, there's Wistia, membership.io. You can do all of those will work well for hosting video. So it's really just a trade-off. What YouTube does is really amazing for free. And so it's just deciding whether that's worth paying some money and locking it down, right? Because the other thing with lots of these other services is that, and with Vimeo, is that you can say, not only can you say, I don't want it to show anywhere else, the embedding, I only want the embedding to work on this Obvio site. So it even locks it down further. So now it's like people can't share that video. There's no easy way of it then, being posted onto another site or that sort of stuff. Whereas YouTube kind of is, right? It's security by obscurity with YouTube, because it's simply just not listed anywhere. It's just embedded and people can easily share that link. So it depends on the content as well, where you feel like if people have paid for this content, then you probably want to lock it down a little bit more. So
yeah, these were actually like the full days of my 3-day rehearsal that I just did. So I really didn't want many people to see it. So that was why I was asking.
Yeah, there are ways to where you can send a YouTube video to specific people. You give people specific access and they only have access to it. And so if it was just a handful of people, you could do it that way. But it sounds like it's one of those times where if it works big, it works small. If these are the tools that will grow with you, then having something like this in place, ready for the growth, and right, it's like it could be worth it. Yeah. And they do monthly plans and things like that, all these different ones. Sorry, I missed the chat there before. I said before about how I'm getting ready for a large event next week, and a bunch of my gear has to go on a truck, and my big screens that I normally have in front of me have gone, and so I've got this tiny screen in front of me, and so I didn't have the chat open. And so I can see, Jaylene, you're saying you had the experience of attending a Zoom meeting not connected to the meeting instead of waiting to host, even though both are hosted. Yeah, so that's interesting. And as Henri, you said, you think that it is a Zoom related thing, and it totally could be. So we'll see. It could be just an intermittent thing, and then the idea of doing a full screen recording could be helpful too for us to capture. And then Melanie, if you've got membership.io, if you are using so that would be the other thing. It's like membership.io is not just about video hosting, although it is video hosting. It also is kind of a place for your community to join, sort of after the event, and that's where you build community, and that's where they go back and watch replays and ask questions and things like that. And so it could be worth exploring that it's not just video hosting that you need, but something else. V.io, you can create video clips. Yeah, cool, nice, good suggestions. All right, another one from Melanie. How do we get transcripts of an entire day of the event in Obvio downloads? In my rehearsal event, did not get entire day transcripts. You should, but it can take some time for it to process. Have you been back since to have a look and see?
Yes. And that was last weekend or two weekends ago.
And so it was recording the whole time. So you've got recordings of the whole thing, but you don't have transcripts of the whole thing.
True.
That's unusual.
And I just saw Enric's note about Veed.io. I have uploaded those videos to Veed and have the captions in, and I was going to get the transcripts that way as an option.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and in YouTube as well, you can download the transcripts. I mean, it calls it captions, and you can download the captions afterwards, as in it automatically converts them as well. So you would have it there too. The fact that it's not showing in Zoom is a bit unusual to me, because it normally does. So you get it calls it the chat transcript as well, which of course is just chat. And then there's the actual transcription of the event. So, but yeah, it's an example of sometimes where there can be some inconsistencies. It's a huge thing that Zoom's doing with the recordings. And so thankfully something like transcription is something that you can recreate. And so, because you have those recordings and you've got the audio files as well, and you can recreate the transcriptions. There are some cool things that people are doing with ChatGPT as well, as far as taking the transcriptions and then doing some analysis of it and some summaries and things like that. It's pretty amazing. So that's, yeah, thanks, Marty. Yeah, the VTT files, which is a caption type file, and so it shows the timestamps and who was speaking at the time. Cool.
Hey, Melanie, I'm looking at your event right now, and I see transcripts for all of your recordings. The only one that doesn't have it is the one that's like 1 second long. So if you click on the drop down for the downloads, all of them have one that said audio transcript.
Did you,
Justin,
did you look at the length of them? Was it all there? Because I think there was one that I saw that had a little bit, but it didn't have the whole thing.
They should all be there. It's whatever's there is what Zoom gave us.
Okay. Well, I'll take another look. It could have been the time. I don't remember if I looked last night or this morning. I'll look again.
Yeah, and they're pretty small files anyway.
Okay. Thank you. And thanks, Money. And thank Heinrich.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's interesting. Okay, so Henrik, I can answer your other question, or the question that I have. Anyway, so you're talking about upgrading to enterprise.
Yes, sir.
So you're currently on Pro or Leap? What are you in?
I'm currently in no man's land because I did not
Okay.
renew my Leap membership, and I don't want to be here using free stuff that I haven't paid for. So I feel bad about that, but I'm like landing planes right now and doing events, and I'm like I got to stop training. I got to go do stuff, right? So I haven't renewed my Leap membership, but I intend on building a lot of events through Obvio. So obviously the next step is the enterprise version. And when I look at my account, it's kind of gotten a little bit lost in the source. So I just thought I'd check, if I upgrade today, the 12 months, I suppose, starts today. That was kind of the question I was asking.
Yeah, that can be the case. And I was just having a quick look at your account. See, yeah, okay. So yes, it will.
Okay.
It will start. So you should be able to upgrade. You just need to try it.
Yeah.
And I'll keep an eye on it. It's only because it's a little bit different that yes, your Leap membership is actually still active, and so it's the 4th of May is when that would expire.
Yeah.
And so even if you do it today, then there might be two subscriptions there, and I just need to have a little fiddle on it, and I'll be able to fix it. But yes, it'll be 12 months. The good thing is that the question I had, your other question about having a link for someone to open the room, is related to an enterprise feature, which is what we call a team access panel. This is kind of a high, an advanced level move, but is really quite powerful. So let's see.
And I'm happy to take that offline or come back whenever.
No. Look, I mean, this is something that I don't think that we've done a video about. I was trying to find it another time, but essentially what we have is the ability to show a team access panel on a dashboard. So this is where you have a larger team that you are not giving access to the admin, the Obvio admin at all. You're simply providing dashboard access to all of these people. So think of this in terms of where on large events that we have, we might have 200 or 300 people that are team that we are not going to give admin access to, but they do need to be able to join a Zoom room as a co-host. And so that's why, and we can give certain access to certain areas to different people. So let me explain here. And so just so everyone knows, this is an enterprise feature. But it's cool to know that it's available. So let's have a look at, I'm working on this event that we're in right now, and I'm looking at an attendee. So in order to activate, this is all based around tags. If you get the tags right for someone, then things start appearing. The key thing is that in order for us to get the access panel going, we need team. Okay. We then need team whether we want them, if we just have team, I guess I could show you that, but what happens is we also need to say what areas do they have access to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say access all areas, right? Team access all areas. And now if I keep it like that, and I'm now going to log in as that person. And so I'm now look at this. Team access for Grant. Select a room. So this is our main room. And when we go to that, it gives me the option to join as an attendee. So this in its most basic level is giving access to a team member just as an attendee. But as you can see, if I had said that they only get access to, and I can change this in a second. You imagine if you've got a large event and you've got 5 different rooms going, they can now jump between rooms, right? That's the reason that we have it. If I change this now to not access all areas, but the first word of the area, so team main, what we'll see now, my Zoom panel out of the way. Gee, you get spoiled when you have big screens. If we refresh this, see that? Now this person only has access to that area, and this is the room within the area, and now it goes. So then the final step of that is where we can say team main, and then I want them to be team co-host. Now, what this means is that if the room is started, they can join the room as a co-host, right? Which is basically the start link, same as what is the join button once the room is already started. If the room's not started, they can't do anything. Okay, in this mode. And then the final mode, which is what really I think you were asking about, is team host. And now this will allow them, it'll say join as co-host, but if the room was closed, and if we were to add this back in again, we could take that out and do that. If we can see all areas now, so tech check or anything. Start tech check. So as a tech check room, you can actually do all the check-in and everything on here as well, which is kind of powerful. So see another room is this there ready to start. So what's really awesome about this whole process is that when I've done this with some events and we've had a team of, a dozen or so, I'm able to schedule all of my team emails, have all the emails come out, and it says, come and join the green room 30 minutes before. Click this button, goes to the dashboard, team access, bang, join, and then you can sort of allocate as well.
So when you, for example, have when I have a one-on-one meeting with Blue, right, he gives you that link, blue.meetwithsage.com.
Okay. Yeah.
And I seem to immediately go straight into a meeting with him, even when he's not there. Is he
Yeah.
using that feature for that, or is he just going directly to Zoom then?
Two things on that. One is that's a separate Zoom account. It's not using Obvio at all.
Okay.
And secondly, because of that, has a setting called join before host turned on. And so that setting means that you join, you're in the meeting, but the host is not there, and it's fine. So that's the difference with that. So
okay, so Obvio can't do something like that.
It can't join. It can't join before the host.
Okay, gotcha.
No.
All right.
No.
Cool. Thank
There
you
you
for
go.
that.
So it's probably
Appreciate
a
you
whole
very
feature
much.
that it's probably a whole feature that you may not need at the moment, but at least you know it's there on enterprise. Cool. Let me double check. Okay, yeah. Good, Tamara. I was like, no, don't take it offline. Show me. What am I missing out on? All right. Let's see what other questions we've got. That answers that and that. Melanie asking about Pixel for video view awareness, Facebook and Instagram ads. Yeah. Muddy, I think you just did this recently, didn't you? Did some Pixel work?
I was asking about this, yes. Yep. And I think it just needed to be dropped in the header HTML.
Which was on the marketplace, right?
But yeah, Muddy, I want to do video view ads. And because I'm not taking people to a landing page, it's just warming them up. So I didn't know where to put a pixel for that type of thing. May I understand when you're doing a conversion, when you want a lead or a purchase, but I didn't know for video views. Or if you even need to.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. The purpose of ours was understanding conversions between people that saw the post, came to the site, registered for the event. Yep.
Yeah, I've spent some time searching online and I can't seem to find an answer.
Are you doing an ad?
I'll be doing video view ads. So it's basically they call it a brand awareness campaign now. So I'll be warming up my audience before I run ads.
There should be data that you have access to through the ad center that kind of gives you more intel about who watched the videos, I think.
Okay. I'll figure it out, I guess. I just thought if somebody knew it would be easier, but I can figure it out. I've done it before. I just couldn't remember.
Yeah. So obviously there's lots of levels to that aren't related to Obvio, as you've said. I guess from an Obvio point of view, you can put trackers, all sorts, on the dashboard. You would put that in the footer, in the HTML section. Now, I think you might be talking also about marketplace, where you're sending people to a marketplace page. And in that case, you can put it in the header. You can put scripts and those sorts of trackers in the header on an Obvio page. So if the dashboard, it can be in the footer, and in the marketplace page, it can be in the header, and you can put whatever it is that you need to track that way. Does that make sense? Somewhat.
Yeah, I know how to do it with Facebook, and I'm not Facebook. ClickFunnels. I know how to do it in ClickFunnels, so that's where I'll be doing it. But it was the before you do the ads where you're actually capturing information or sales.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe you just don't need it. Maybe that's why I can't find it.
Yeah. It's all about the stats, right? That you're tracking from one site to the next. If they click a link and they're already logged in that place, and then you're taking them off to another page, sometimes what they're adding now is, oh, do you want to use your Facebook information or your Instagram information to share that with these people? Like there's some of that's happening a bit now, but those sorts of integrations.
Yeah, I saw that, and I thought maybe that does enough to track the person.
Yeah, I think it would, but I'm not. I don't think that it would be sharing their data necessarily directly with you without their express permission. Yeah,
True. It's
yeah.
more for
But
retargeting ads for them and
yeah,
people
sure.
like that.
And that's what I was going to say is that but it would be tracking to say that you had a number of these people, or this number of people clicked the video and went to this page, and so then yes, I totally get the retargeting is being able to focus then and filter back to those particular people without knowing who they are. If they have gone to this site, then do this. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Just you saying it
Cool.
out loud like that, Grant, helped me. Believe it or not.
Okay,
That
good.
helped.
Good. Okay, good.
That was their action was going to that page. That was their action. That's what helped me.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
No worries. Maddie, can my event partner I co-present with join you in Obvio, as in come to this meeting? Is that what you're talking about, Maddie? Maddie's still here? Oh, there she is.
When you do an event, Grant, I didn't know if both of us could be in Obvio during an event.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
no problems at all. So two things there is that when you're logged into the admin section of Obvio, you can actually be logged in multiple times as the same user, and which is no problem. So on multiple computers, and you could join the Zoom meeting, and then you jump on another computer and you join the Zoom meeting again, and each time you join, you are the co-host. Now at that time, you are the host and then co-host. The name each time would be you, like it would be the same person, and so the better way of doing it is to have a separate user set up for your partner, and the names are all correct, and then you can both be in the admin at the same time. You go to the Zoom areas and you click start or join, and now you're both in there, and you're both the first person to join, whoever that is, will be the host, and then anyone else joining that way will be the co-host. And so, and they'll have those the extra permissions that you have as a co-host. So yeah, your whole team, you can do that. You can have as many team members as you want, have access that way. You can, and the only time that you want to just be a little bit careful is when you're making dashboard changes, and you have multiple people that are making dashboard changes. Generally, the system works well. It's designed to be able to work where changes are pushed and people can see those changes as they're happening. But of course, if you were both editing a blog post at the exact same time, there's going to be a problem with who gets posted. You'll be the last person to save that'll push all those changes through. So that's the only thing you want to be a little bit careful of. Really, everywhere else, it's totally fine to have multiple people connected at the same time. So
thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. But there's something else going on in the chat there that all right. Henrik geeking out again.
Yep. No. Sorry about that. I just wanted to let people know I've had this now in 2 events. where I've got backup machines. I'm in there 3-4 times with my own machines, but if my whole power and internet goes down, the first outside attendee literally becomes the host. So we have a little funny ritual that we do at the beginning of every event. I make a note, I go, okay, who was here first? Well, you are the CIC, you are the civilian in charge. And if all fails, you will be the host, and you better figure out how to unmute people and put me back as the host when I join 2 minutes later. And out of every 4 events, something happens, and it was a useful instruction. So I just wanted to add that in there.
Fair enough. I mean, you could join from your phone as a co-host or something like that as well, right? Which would be another backup.
As long as you turn the Wi-Fi, you got to turn the Wi-Fi off on your phone and make sure that it's. Right. I've learned all this the hard way.
Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. I mean, in that instance, the Wi-Fi, if the Wi-Fi died, Zoom would pick up back on the cellular pretty quickly. It's a little bit slower on the phone than it is on a computer, but it does recover.
And while we're talking about it, there is a sequence to that, so that in a meeting, if the host drops off, the first co-host becomes the host. Right now, if you're all on the same power and Wi-Fi and you all drop off at the same time, then but it goes, the first person to become a co-host becomes the host, second person to become a co-host, and so like it goes down through all the co-hosts in the order that they were made co-host. And then if there's no one else after that, it goes chronological to the attendees. So the first attendee to arrive, if they drop off, the second attendee to arrive. So that's kind of the order. So of course, if you're all in the same power and Wi-Fi, that's not a lot of security. But if you have a co-host who's outside your location, they would become hosts. So just to complete the thought.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Marty. All right. Next question is Melanie. A few Rodecaster video questions. We can get to those in a little bit. Okay. I don't know how to say your name. Jainta Martin. Sorry, what is it? I'm so sorry.
Juanita.
Juanita, of course it is. I'm sorry. It's the naive Australian in me. Hello. Okay.
Hello.
So, try to set up the event. I need to set up the time zone, but don't see EST. That's interesting. So it should be. You may find it when you search for New York. Yeah. So see here. See here, I've got this event is set to New York. So I think you can even search New York. So like, my time zones there, I put in Adelaide. And you can put in New York and then
New York.
Bang.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So that answers that one. And the good thing about that is that anywhere in the site then is all based around that time zone. So any times that you see will be in that event time zone. It's very handy because often we have people working across multiple time zones, and so it's good to be able to say that we're all working in this time zone. So the only exception to that is in the dashboard when you put an agenda, it will, when you're entering the data there, I could show you this as well. It's just helpful to know as far as times. See how in here we need to add some more in here. see that it's actually showing me on my computer time zone, right? So Australia Central Daylight Saving Time is what it's showing. And so actually it's a good example too. You have a look at this when we add. So when we're adding an agenda item, if I put in next week's, oops, okay, I can't see there. Wow, 30th of April. There we go. So I'm now once again using the event time zone, which is the Eastern. And so it's 5. And then I'll put in 2, 7. Oh. Okay. There we go. Now what you'll see. It's just interesting to show that that's now showing in my time zone, and you can change this little note as well, so that people make it's really clear. It's clear because it's got the time zone identifier as well, but we'd purposely do it so that when people come and look at the agenda, even if you don't put a full agenda in, just putting in when you start, sort of the rough day is really helpful for people when you have multiple time zones, because it'll just say, this is your time zone. This is exactly the time that we expect you to be there. And I think just to Muddy's point there, you can see here that this is 5 to 7 Eastern, but the time zone, the daylight saving changed. So you can see there that it was daylight saving time and now it's standard time. All of that is taken into account. It's all automatic. And I think that's why they say, rather than doing EST, it just says say the location, and then it will work out whether it's daylight saving or not, because otherwise it'll be EDT or whatever, right? So
I see.
Anyway, that's way too much into time zone and daylight saving that is necessary. All right, let me go back to, you had a couple of questions there. Next one is, how important is the anticipated attendee number? It's not super important. It's important when it's a large number, right? Because that number doesn't actually do anything technically for your event, but it will flag to us that you're expecting an event with 3,000 people or something. Then we might put out a few more virtual chairs to make sure that that's all okay, right? So look, if you put in there that you had 50 people coming and 150 people came, it's no problems at all. That's all okay. It's really when we're talking about hundreds and thousands of people, so no problems at all. Put your best estimate and move on. Does one template appeal to the attendees than others? There's one more. That's a very good question. What we find is it tends to depend on the content that you have, and so how much content and what your sort of key plans are, or what your ideal outcome is for your dashboard. You have a look here at the different ones. This is where it is good. You can click this. So I've just gone into event and template because I had already the template had already been chosen. So you can go back in, but viewing these sample dashboards is helpful. One of the things is we're finding, for example, have a look at like panels. You look at this as an example of one that is particularly good for more content that you want to share. So you have, see how sort of front and center you've got a blog post, which a blog post can be anything, and the time doesn't need to be there, and you can have full control over that. It's just a way of getting the content there. You could have a video, you could have all sorts of different content that you wanted, and it's all available there. And then you've got a couple of buttons that are available to you. And so if you only had a couple of call to actions, or you had like join the main stage, and a couple more, that would be fine. And this can work really well, this template, when you only have a few buttons. When you start to have more buttons, it ends up having as a scroll, and it really doesn't work as well when there's lots of buttons. So as an example, something like the cards, we tend to find cards works really well for people that don't have a lot of content, and they really just want the few buttons that they want people to get to, really front and center. It's like, the most important thing we want you to do is join Zoom. And if you're having trouble, maybe you do a help desk. The help desk is, in this example, is just another Zoom meeting. And so it's kind of like having people come to the registration desk to ask a question or something. That's the idea of that. And then, there's speaker pages and things like that. So you have a handful of buttons here. On some of our large events, we might have, 10 or 12 buttons, and are often using something like this, where we can have lots of buttons and they're all really clear to people, front and center. And then of course you go down, and now you've got your blog posts and things like that. So it's sort of these different combinations of that. The lefty, the town hall is kind of similar again, where you can have some key content and then just a few buttons that works well for. And then classic is kind of, I've used that as our first one, and tends to be a bit of a combination where you can have lots of buttons, you have your content all there as well, and you tend to be able to lay it out a bit more how you want to do it. But see how it's very subjective. I'm trying to be objective about it. But I think you can see this, as I said, panels works okay with just a couple of buttons that are always there, and you've got lots of content that you'd like to share, or, welcome messages and videos and things like that. That can work great. Cards is great when you just want to have the key buttons. The main thing you want people to do is just join Zoom, and there's a couple of extra things. So it's worth sort of playing around where, suggested this before, where you've got unlimited events, right? So you can just create as many test events as you like. And it could be that you're bored one weekend, that you create 6 test events, one with each one of these themes, and just play around with it, put your content in there, and just see what you feel works the best. So you can see how I'm trying to think from the attendees' point of view, and what is it that you're trying to communicate to them. And so if the dashboard is really content heavy and has lots of things you want to share with them, then something that shows that content off really well, something like panels, while still having the main calls to action like joining Zoom available all the time, that could work really well. So it's thinking about the attendee and how you're serving them the best. Always, I think, always be careful that often less is more with the content. It makes it really clear to people then, what they're supposed to read, what they're supposed to watch, or whatever, before they get into their event.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
It does. Since I'm starting out, I know which one I need. The one with the least buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep. Nice.
And you
That sounds
you
good.
may have answered part of the next question, which is the must-haves when I start an
Yeah.
event for the first time, which I'm thinking now I should go with the first one that you suggest. Is it cards? The one that was on the left, the
Yep.
top one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Yes. Must-haves are really, you know, you need to have a button for people to join Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
and really that is all that you definitely need.
Okay.
And so, look, having an agenda, I think, is helpful, right? Because
Okay.
it, particularly when you have people across different time zones and potentially different countries and things, that can be helpful. And just whether you have any, you know, resources, PDF resources or things like that that help during your event. And so must-haves, I think, you know, the only must-have really is just the Zoom button for people to get into Zoom for your event.
Okay.
And then nice to have is to have the agenda, so people know for sure exactly what time they're showing up. Any resources, and another nice to have is some welcome text or video, you know, that just kind of says, hey, you know, so looking forward to joining us, and this is what I'd love you to be thinking about before you come on day one. Think about XYZ. What questions have you got regarding this? You know, what's your dreams for this? And let's hope that we can answer some of those together, you know? So just a primer, right? And it's just easy to do, to drop a video in on the dashboard to do that. Or, as I said, just some text. Here's the three things to have a think about before we begin, you know?
Okay. Now, from your side, how does it actually look from your side? Is it similar to what we would see in Zoom? Like, for instance, when we were feeding the questions in to you, how does that look?
Okay. So there's two things there. So let's have a look at when you're in the admin of Obvio. This is the admin. So let's say that you've got your dashboard set up, and we've got join event. We've got our button there that was another one that I had actually. Hang on, what am I thinking of? This one. This is what everyone pressed. So join area, main stage. So you've got the Zoom area set up, you've got a button set up, and when it comes to starting the day and starting the event, you'd come here, you click open room and join. That would launch Zoom. And at that point, there is nothing that is really unique about the Obvio Zoom experience than you just launching your own Zoom, you know, your own Zoom account, and you started a Zoom meeting, and now it's the same. Everything there is the same. There's nothing special about that Zoom meeting itself, apart from just how you launched it. You clicked that start button, and it launched Zoom. Now it's just Zoom. So anything else, like with the questions that you posted on the dashboard, that's all separate in Obvio. It has nothing to do with Zoom. All right, just to make that clear. To show the questions, we haven't shown this for a little while. So first of all, on the dashboard, we've got a button. I'm working backwards here a little bit to show what it is. So ask a question is linking to a form, and then new Obvio questions is the form that we've chosen. And so now that launches that little form, and the form is most basic because it's just questions. So let's see, when we go to features and forms and we're looking here, we'll look at the editing of it first. It looks a little bit overwhelming here, but it really is pretty straightforward. One of the key things that we wanted is allow multiple submissions. We wanted people to be able to ask as many questions as they want. Sometimes with forms, you only want it to be, they answered it, they answered the form, and that's it. And so you don't want multiple submissions. Whereas this one, we do, because we're using it as a question. Submit my question. Thank you. There we go, the questions. And then this field's required. And then we come to down here is what are the questions of the form? And so add a question. Just so happens that the question of our form is, what is your question? It's a little bit meta. So we've added a question, and that type of form response is a long answered text. You can, like with any survey or forms that you're building, you've got lots of options with how you want to create that form. In this instance, is using it as Q&A, we're saying long answer question. And that's it. So now what happens is we have this extra feature that we added a little while ago. When you click on the ellipsis here, the three dots, you have these options. And one of them here is moderation. Moderation is where I can see the questions coming in. And I'm able to, mostly we're just sitting here looking at these questions and reading them out from here. But you can also look at it if we were to go and do a stage view. This is something that you could open on another big screen, or you could open it on an iPad or something. And now this is how you can get your questions. And the nice thing is that, say, for example, I used that was the incoming. So this is where all the questions come in. But you can sort of add moderation by just dragging into this another column. And if you had a team member, you could have this view and give this to your host. And this is now a moderated view where someone has thought about whether that's a good question to ask. And the more questions you have, the more moderation really helps. Is that then you can that as a host, or as a presenter, you're just seeing questions that have been approved to be asked. And there you go. So Justin just dragged another one in, and you can see it update live. And so that could be on a big TV somewhere for you, or as I said, it opens great, looks good on a phone, looks good on an iPad, these screens as well. So this is all just an extension of forms in Obvio, and everyone can use it. And the nice thing with this is that, firstly, it's not just stuck in Zoom chat, right? Like it's nice and separate. You can add some points, and people get points if they, if you want a gamification, you can add points to this, and so people get points when they post a question. And you've got all the questions, and they're all tied to the person, and you can do an export of this, and it just is nice and simple. So it also scales really well, right? So if you do have multiple Zoom meetings, or you've got a VIP meeting and a general admission meeting, they're both using the same form. It's not in two separate Zoom chats. So
Okay.
That was a bit of a deep dive into that, and I think it was just a bit of a throwaway question for you, as it was like, what does it look like? For example, what do questions look like? But as an example, having questions like this is very powerful, because as you see, we only have 20 people here in this event, and we're still using this because it makes it so much easier to manage the questions and to be not trying to track the chat the whole time, even in a small meeting. So we find it helpful. It also means that people can post their questions before the event even starts, which we had a few people do. So
that was very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That was all your questions?
Yes, that was it.
Great. Awesome. All the best for that. Oh, I just had a delivery of drinks, which is good. All right. Let's see now. You had Maddie, you had the co-present. You might have put that same question sort of twice, I think, maybe. Did you have further questions about the co-presenting or getting someone in as co-host?
Not tonight, but probably in the future.
Fair enough. Yeah, we can talk through that a bit more. Well, let me just give you a somewhere to look, and that is that what I didn't mention before is just about your team, and so how to add the person as an extra team member. So just in here, when you're looking at your event, there's team, and this is where you can add. So you create a role when you first create a role that, and these are all the functions that a person can do, and then once you have a role set up, and sometimes we just have an admin where they can just do everything, or you might have something that's a little bit less where they can't access or they can't start rooms and areas, or so that's where the bigger your event gets, the bigger your team gets, the different access levels that they might have. So you create a role, and then you can say, I want this person to be an admin. You enter their email, you invite them, and now they get access to Obvio for that event. Sorry, for that organization. The teams are based around organization access, and so however many events that you have in that organization is what the team gets access to. So you may not be tracking all of that, but that's just something to be aware of when you're wanting to add extra people to the back end access, the admin access of Obvio. That's how you do it. They will then, when they accept, they will then create an account essentially with Obvio, and everyone only has one Obvio account. And so even if you had multiple organizations, or there's a friend that has given you access or wants you to join their event in their organization, that would still only be your one account. When you log into Obvio, you would have your organizations and all the organizations that other people have invited you to join. And so you will see that as your one Obvio login. And that's how that all works. So it's just a little bit of a primer thinking about how do I do team level access, and how you bring someone else in. So cool. Right. Let me get back to questions. There's some good questions today. Let's see what else we got. Lost the chat. There it is. Seeing that people are still awake. Nice. Okay. Now Oh, yes. Getting caught again. Sanny? Is that how we say it? I'm
Senne.
trying to remember. Senne. There we go.
Danish.
It's late for you too, right?
It's 12:30 in the night, yeah. So
Yeah.
very close to falling asleep.
I should have noticed before. We should have flagged it earlier to get the question answered earlier. But I think you said that I answered one of your questions maybe before. That's good.
Yeah, but for some reason I couldn't see it on the list, so it
I see.
disappeared.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now we've got it here. Can you share how to connect the magic login link with high-level solution, or provide an automated step-by-step guide on what to send in the welcome email? So I want to set up 3 dashboards for having weekly live sessions. There's something I need to be aware of about what if I do it this way. Should people still sign up by email? Okay. Okay. All right. So just explain to me, is it kind of related? Because the first thing you're saying about the magic login link, whether you're, so first of all, are you using a CRM system at all? Or like you are?
Yes,
Which
I
one?
have white labeled the high level.
Okay, high level. Okay. And your intention is to send all of the emails out from high level. Is that the idea?
That was the idea, yes.
Yep. Fair enough. Yeah, and that's totally fine.
And I've tried to find videos you have made already, but that I haven't had any luck by that.
Yeah, about using high level.
Yeah, about how to connect the magic link. You talk. Blue almost made it there yesterday in the video you made. I looked it all the way through, and then he just stopped and said, "That's going to be for the next video," and I was like, "Damn it!"
All right. I don't think. I'm trying to think that whether we added high level after we did the workshop trainings.
It's not. I looked in those today too.
Yeah, that's not there.
I don't think so. I didn't see them.
Yeah. Okay. It's a shame because we have gone through it a few times in some of these calls, but I can't remember exactly which ones. That's the problem. So Justin, do you use high level?
Yep, I sure do.
Can you give a little step through of that? Is that possible?
Sure.
Nice. The concept, while Justin's getting that ready, the concept is the same no matter which integration we're using. It's always the idea that the CRM is sending to Obvio a first name, last name email as a minimum, and Obvio is sending back to the CRM the magic link or the login URL that needs to be stored as a custom field somewhere in the CRM. And once it's there, now you're able to send your comms, any of the emails out using that custom field in the body of the text. But Justin will give a specific on the high level.
Grant, let me know if you can see my audio screen here.
I can. It's all good.
Perfect. So to hook up any of the services, you'll go under Attendees and Services, and then click on Go High Level. I've already hooked this one up, but the first time you click on it, what you'll get is a button that asks you to log into your high level. You'll pick your high level account. Once you go through all that authorization process, it will give you a screen that looks like this. The very top field here, this is the tag to apply to an attendee inside of Go High Level. to say that you want that particular contact in Go High Level to be added to your event inside of Obvio. We automatically set this tag. So you can create your workflows and set that tag, or you can manually apply them inside of Go High Level. The next field down, the login URL, this is the magic link. If you don't already have a custom field inside of Go High Level for your contact record, then you can go and click on create new field, make it a text field, give it a name. I typically call it like Obvio, the name of the event, and then the word link. So I know exactly what it is when I'm looking at all my custom fields for a contact record. In this particular case, this event is called HCon Masterclass Link. So every time an attendee gets added, we're going to write back their login link to a custom field for that particular contact to the HCon Masterclass link field. Those are the required things. Everything below that is optional. So the first optional one that I always like to add is adding a tag to say that the user's been created. Just a nice way for me to be able to look inside a Go High Level and see, did my user get created? I can always look to see, do they have a login link? But sometimes it's nice just to be able to look at the tag. If you're going through a check-in process, or you just want to see if they access the dashboard at all, that's what this attendee checked-in tag is for. And if you have them signing a waiver when they come to the dashboard, that's what this last one is, so you can see who has signed the waiver and who has not. For the next section, the attendee group properties, if you wanted to pull in additional contact fields and have them available as a group within Obvio, so in this case, this particular event pulled in the contact record field called state. And I just named the key here state and told it that was what I wanted to pull in. Particular event happens to use that for some other stuff inside of their dashboard. Once I'm done with all that, click the save button. Once you're ready to import attendees in and have it start automatically the importing every time you tag people, click the import attendees button at the very top right here. Depending on how many people you may have tagged inside of Go High Level, it can take 5 to 15 minutes for those initial imports to happen. After the initial import, anytime you add a tag, within 1 to 3 minutes, typically we'll add the user into Go High Level and then write back their login link to Go High Level. And that is the whole process from the Obvio side. From the Go High Level side, you will treat this custom field, so HCon Masterclass link in this case, just like I would a first name, a last name, a phone number, all those merge fields that you may use inside of an email automation. It'll just be another field that you will be able to add as a merge field.
Awesome.
Any questions on that piece?
Still very confused. I'm not sure that even got me anywhere near closer to what for some reason I really feel blocked around this one, so can't wrap my mind around it.
Biggest thing to do is in your event, go under the attendees menu and click on services and click Go High Level.
But I already have that
through it.
I have that integration already, so that's not the issue. The issue is still how to get the magic link into an email form and how to connect it together with the custom field. I think that is the piece I can't figure out.
Give me a moment here and I will pull up my Go High Level and show you where that is actually at.
Thank you, Justin. It is more on the high level side, about specifically using their product.
But it's still Justin, the link. It's still the link.
Yeah.
How you connect the link. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say is that Justin can give some pointers and just show you a little bit about where to find those custom fields to be able to bring those in.
Yeah, I know where the custom fields is. It's more like how to how do I connect them together with the email?
Okay.
So I'm not thinking I need to put in each email for each. I think I could do it for one, just by putting in. That's what I have an idea about, but I'm not sure it's correct.
Okay.
So you can do just one email, sending it out to all people at once.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't that be correct?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're scheduling an email and you're creating it once and it sends to everyone.
Yeah.
Justin will show you that now.
Here we go. Tying it all back together, we saw inside of Obvio that login URL field was HCon Masterclass link. So Obvio wrote back for this particular attendee the magic link already. So now that I have that, in this case, this example I'm going to show, this happens to be a workflow automation that's going to send an email, but you could, any place that you emails inside of Go High Level works the same way. Wait, so within that email, I can click on this custom values. I can look up HCon Masterclass, this link, because that's my custom field name. Once I pick it, it will automatically add it into here, and that will be the particular one that I would use. We'll actually get rid of that. So now this will actually, when I send the email out, it will replace this merge field with this value for that particular user when I send them the email.
So that one is taking the magic link from Obvio.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Because the magic link got written to this HCon Masterclass link was the custom field I picked.
Okay, that was the missing connection I couldn't figure out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. Yeah, it is. Each one of them has its own way of doing it. And I mean, when you just look at those screens, it's like, this is not intuitive, I don't think. But it's complex stuff that we're doing. So, okay, so that handles you getting the magic link out to your people. Explain to me, you're talking about having 3 different dashboards. What's your thinking here?
It's just because I have 3 different products. I'm going
events. Okay.
Events. So for not making too much confusion for my people, I want to have 3 different dashboards. So I have my 3-day live event for a separate one, but I have those 3 I want to do each weekend. I want to do a live session just for training myself, because I'm not that happy about being online. So I think it would be nice in the beginning here to actually have one each week, because otherwise I will freak myself out all the time.
Fair enough. Yes.
So I think that's I will build the muscle by doing that. That was the plan. Yeah. And then eventually do it longer time, but in the beginning it's just to build the muscle.
And so is the audience different for the 3 different types?
No, it could still be the same audience. It could just be 3 different topics.
Okay.
So it's like the funnel. So some of them can come into the funnel for one product, and some other will step in for another one. So
yeah. So the thing that only you can really work out and decide is whether having distinct events is the best way to do it, which have their own audience, kind of their own attendee list for each one. And the emails that you send out are separate for each one of those events. If that makes the most sense. And so if they come in through one particular product, they'll only ever get, kind of details about that, for that particular product. Or a whole nother way of doing it is customizing a single event to have 3 different sections to it. And that could be, some of that content could be hidden depending on who they are, and they might only see one of the particular things based on the tags that they have. right?
I think it's easier to have it separated still because it's so different, the things I want to talk about.
Great.
It's even though it's still the same avatar, it's still the topics is so different that I think it would be too confusing.
Okay, good. So then that's clear then to have 3 totally separate events.
But I imagine that if I just set it up once, I can keep it going. I just need to open the room each week.
Correct. Yeah.
And if I send, yeah. And if I the same way as you're running Obvio, if I have the tag already and the they have the magic login, they can step into the next week too if they want to. Correct?
Yep. In the same way that we're running this event.
Yeah.
The one that we're in now, every week we just come back and we start the meeting again and people join and away it goes. So we send out the links every week and it's the same link. So that's one advantage too, that even if they opened an old email from a month ago, they click the link, it's going to join the right event because that doesn't change from week to week. And yeah, so just as long as your event, the event window, the start and end time of the event window is wide enough to include however long you're doing it. So if you look at,
but you can extend it along the way, correct?
You sure can. Yeah, you can see here we've got it.
Yeah.
You can keep extending it. Yeah. So we've got here's we must have got frustrated one time and put an extra 3 years on it or something. So that's why that happened there, because we just keep using the same event. So as long as that is in there, then yes, your event just keeps working and Zoom will keep working each time you do it.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool. Was there another part to the question at the end?
I think there was one more. Can't remember it now.
Oh yes. AI language translation.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah. So so there is the translation that we have set up for the dashboards is getting better and better. We've got quite a good system now of being able to handle different translation of the dashboard. We have purposely got it set to be totally manual because
I was thinking more about the language
in Zoom.
Yeah. So when I speak, my issue here in Europe is that many people speak Spanish, many people speak French. So I actually have a huge language problem with everything I'm going to do.
Okay.
Because a lot of the people here are still speaking Spanish and French, and I want to do it in English.
Yeah.
But I'm actually keeping a lot of people. It's difficult for me to actually to find the right target audience because of the language problem.
That's fair enough. It's an interesting problem to have. So currently, what we have in Zoom, because this is something that there are some extra paid add-ons for Zoom, but we have translation interpretation available, which is having another person actually interpret. And have you ever experienced that in Zoom?
No, but I know about how Wordly how they do it, and that's quite
okay.
smart.
So now that's translation.
That's
captions.
translation. Yeah, from but it's still inside.
Still audible.
Yeah, I think so. That's how I haven't tried it, but maybe it's captions.
I've seen Wordly captions for translation.
Okay.
And I'm not saying they don't have an audio version. They've quite they quite well may have. The interpretation setup in Zoom is where it almost becomes like a separate audio rooms in a way. And so you set up a person as the interpreter, and you're saying that they are going from one language to another language.
Yeah.
And then each of the attendees can choose, I would like to listen to, French. And so now I'm listening to the French interpreter who's doing from English to French. And so, and that's all set up in our Zoom now, and that's easy enough to set up. You can make a person an interpreter, and then and away that goes. And now people can talk in that way. Obviously, that requires having interpreters that are listening to you and translating and that sort of stuff. And so there's an overhead cost involved in that.
Yeah.
There is the captions. So if I set caption now, and I'm going to say set the caption language for this meeting as English, I've just turned that on. And now if people, it either has popped up for people, or you can choose to turn it. There's a hide captions, but you can have that there. So if you were to speak in Dutch now, just to test that.
I can't speak Dutch. I can speak Danish.
Oh, Danish. Sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry. Danish. You could, or German, right? Too. You probably know some German.
Jeg kan fortælle, det er meget sent her i Danmark i øjeblikket, og jeg er ret træt.
I can send them. So I have seen this work before, where it was doing translation of captions. But I think they've got an extra feature to do that properly or better, as a paid thing. Now, of course, auto captions have their problems, right? Like, they're getting better and better, and particularly when you can feed it particular words, specific words and acronyms and things, where you can give it a primer on your type of content. That does work better, but it still has its problems. So it's a tricky one. It's clearly is not an easy thing for you to solve. And just
because it's a lot of people. I actually only have the English market I can go to, because otherwise I'm in German, other languages for every country in Europe.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to speak English, and definitely not after Trump. It's becoming an even bigger problem now for us.
Fair enough. Yep. Totally understand. I guess I'm interested in what your process would be. There's no question to me that the best way of doing it is having a human interpretation. And so it depends on how you would manage that. I also wonder about you doing specific events for languages. There's that may work. And I'd be wondering about whether you have, even actors or someone else who is delivering content for you in that language. And so I know it's just checking on time.
Yeah,
I really like, it sounds funny, I like this problem because it plays right into what we're doing with online events, right? Like this is, when we're talking about reaching a global audience, then that audience speaks different languages. And so this is a problem that we need to solve, and find different solutions. And I know that there's some big YouTubers that have created channels in other languages, and they have them voiced by different people. Yeah. And that could be, I wonder if there is a way where you're creating some content pieces that are in these different languages, and then you're managing how you do your interactions and questions and things like that. But if the key content is all delivered in that natural language, and then you're taking some questions that might be using some translation to help that work, that sounds quite compelling. And if your plan is ultimately then to do an event in French, and it's just a French event, and you have one French interpreter that you're able to get along, and you've got a bunch of pre-recorded content that's already been done all in French and works great, and now you're ready to take live questions through translation interpretation. That could be an approach. But so all the best with that. I think it's worth working it out, right?
It's a huge, I actually think that's the biggest problem in Europe, that we're speaking so many different languages. So at the moment we're actually not working together because of it. So
I was in Germany. I've been to Germany a couple of times, and I was sitting in a hotel lobby, and I guess I kind of look like I might not necessarily just only speak English. But someone came up and just a waiter came up and asked in German what I wanted, and it was really kind of shocking for me, because I'm not used to being a minority, which is actually it was a very good experience for me to have. But it was more shocking than I thought, as I just had someone speak totally in another language to me, because they took a look at me and they probably were like, this guy probably speaks German.
In some places in Germany, they only speak German.
Yeah. Well, and in this case, I just said, oh, I mean, no spreche die Deutsch. It was like, what's the point of saying you can't speak a language in the language that, but anyway, I could have just said, I don't speak English. I have
many funny stories from Germany. So yeah.
But
I don't speak
this person
German.
This person just switched straight to English, and picked up. And then that was shocking to me as well. Right. Because then it was like, here's someone, I'm in their country and they're accommodating me in speaking English. Anyway, the whole thing was very humbling. And it was a very simple little experience that stays with me. And I think about how I want to be accommodating all different ways of people, different languages and text and things, which is why, coming back to, and I know you're not as concerned about this, but it's why we've built translation into the dashboard and made it that you can customize every bit of it, because it's important to us that you are able to choose the correct word, not just what Google Translate thinks is right, or Wordly or whatever else, but the actual word that you want, so that the words are correct for every language that you're doing, and you can customize that for each language. That was really important to us, because Google Translate will just work in Chrome browser too, right? You can just have it convert for you and away it goes, and it does an okay job. But if you want to be really sure, and you want to get brand names correct, and you want to get certain things accurate, then you can do that. So
on that same front too, Grant.
Yep.
If you're going down the interpretation route inside of Zoom and you want to put the different languages into their own meeting for interpretation and only have like languages, that translation layer in Obvio also allows you to put rules on the different Zooms to say English only goes in this room, Spanish goes in this one, and Dutch goes in this one, German goes in this one. And so that's all built in there as well to allow you to do that, to real in-person language translations and interpretation inside of Zoom as well.
Perfect.
So just one more layer for you in there.
It's a great point. It's a great point because we do with some larger events have multiple languages, and we can just put all those the same language speaking in the same room, which is what's particularly helpful for that is when you do breakout rooms now. They're all going to be speaking the same language, and it makes it really easy. You've just got 50 French-speaking people in one Zoom meeting. You do breakout rooms, and they're all just able to talk to each other. So it's a really handy thing to be able to have multiple meetings in Obvio to do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. All the best with that, and you've got something to fall asleep thinking about now, don't you? Good night. All right. I have 7 minutes. I do have to leave at the 2-hour mark. So let's just check here. Clara, getting ready to start weekly yoga classes online through Zoom. Do I need to reschedule the sessions on Obvio? No. Is Clara here? No, Clara's not here. All right. If you see this, no. In the same way that we're running this event, you can just make sure your Zoom, the window for your event is wide enough for however many weeks you're doing this, and then just launch it every week and you'll be fine. So no problems there.
Well, let's give maybe a little caveat. Depends on how you set up your Zoom. If you book them inside and schedule them in your Zoom account, then all the Zoom links are not Obvio links. And if you've sent those out, then you either need to put your button to point to your Zoom inside of your Obvio dashboard, or yes, you would need to resend them links. But if they're already Obvio links, then you are set and don't need to keep resending them and rescheduling.
Thank you, Justin. All right. Tamara, I had a problem this week where one of my attendees for the weekend's event couldn't get the current dashboard. What was coming up? Oh, yeah. Tamara, are you still here? Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. So the only thing I can think of there is were you reusing the subdomain, like the subdomain name of Obvio?
No, it's a slightly different name this year. It's a similar event, and she went to that event. Now, I think it has to do with the fact that she's on a PC Windows 10 computer that is like, and she probably doesn't ever shut it down or whatever. That the only thing I can think of is it's pulling from the cache that she had, because I haven't had that with anybody. I think I've had it 1 or 2 times in the past. But she was like, I'm looking at the yellow button. I said, there's no yellow button. And it took me a minute to figure out. I'm like, that's last year's button. And she's one of my special snowflakes that, that is having all the problems you could possibly have. So of course, there's nothing surprising, which is fine. She's adorable.
So but I have seen this before. Excellent. And it typically happens in 2 scenarios. They went and searched for emails and found an email from the last year's event and clicked on their link.
That's possible.
Or if you're using a CRM integration, their magic link custom field may have been the same custom field that you used previously, and that field didn't get updated and still has last year's value in it.
I believe it probably sounds similar to the first one. I imagine she probably took the wrong link. That sounds about right. I mean, I've had one very weird case, and also it was a strange PC problem where I know he was doing, because he's my producing partner and we were online together. He was clicking on it and it was pulling from like a totally different thing, like a totally different organization within our organizations. and I just had to delete everything that he has ever touched and create a new one for him. And I've had that a couple of times with like teammates situation, but I just delete them and start over. But nothing
Sounds
consistent. Thank you.
Back to you, Grant.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. In the last couple of minutes, we've got Melanie asking about the Rodecaster video. Did not get gallery view in Obvio. Is that what happens? So you're using the Rodecaster video as your camera input into Zoom. Is that right?
Yes, and I have 3 cameras going in.
Okay. And
it wasn't me running it. It was Katie's husband, Tap.
okay.
We actually moved to a different solution the next day.
Right. Did you have multiple people in the meeting at the time?
As far as I know, but I can check back to that. I mean, this was really rehearsal. I know, yeah, I can check back to that.
Yeah, so that's one thing, is that the gallery view will only work when there's kind of 3 or more. You start to see the gallery sort of show up.
That could have been the problem.
Yeah, so that might have thrown you a little bit with not seeing that. So have a play with that, see what happens.
Okay.
And then putting PowerPoint offer slides in. Yeah, so a couple of different ways, depending on how many slides there are. Probably if you had less than 10, maybe 5 or 6, something like that, you may choose to put them in as images into the Rodecaster video itself. And now you've just got, there's a media player of sorts that can show
I understand
an image.
that part of it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you could totally just do that as images, or the other way of doing it is just to have a computer connected directly to it. So another computer is going in, HDMI out of the computer, HDMI into the Rodecaster video, and then you open up PowerPoint, Keynote, slides, whatever you want, and now you've got that computer is just going directly in, and you can advance your slides and do a full slide deck. That's the way to do it if you've got
because
slides.
we'll have some slides period at the beginning at times, and then when I do the offer it'll be more, so it'll be more than all those buttons.
Yeah, it's worth doing it that way, and then you can jump back to slides, and you can play some videos, and you could have some animation or things that certain things that reveal, or when you're doing the offer and then the price eventually comes up, things like that rather than just being static slides, you might have some movement to it. So that would be the way to do it, to have it as a separate computer.
Thank you. I understood.
Excellent.
Yay.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. That was a good couple of hours. And you can continue putting questions in throughout the week. And then, of course, there's the Facebook group, and there's the live chat during business hours as well in Obvio. And then join us again next week at 5 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Ha ha!